Hey everyone, welcome to another FogCutter Live. I'm Mike Curtis here with Preston James, founder of Traders Edge Network. We're coming at you for the last time in October. It's definitely fall feeling in the air, Preston. The market is just charged again. So even coming off of a sad weekend for our Dallas Cowboys,
Oh my
we got a
gosh.
lot of green across the tape. So chime in. What's on your mind?
It always, I'll just say that I don't know if I've ever said this to you, Mike, but whenever I just see him take the field in those uniforms, I mean, those uniforms, when color TV was coming out, Tex Schramm, that's the first thing he did. He goes, "This whole game is going to TV." He goes, "We need to look good on TV." So they mixed and matched how that helmet looked, what the color of that was, and what all to say to pop on TV. And all I'm going to say is, I feel so good. The world is right when they take the field. And then when they play like they did, it's just a meat, it's a meat grinder on another level. It's just the wave picking you up and right down, you're down on your head. I love it and hate it all at once. And I wish you wouldn't have brought it up. Damn it.
Yeah, I couldn't help. Yeah, we got to figure out how to get their defense to pop a little bit. We'll talk about defense in the market as we're kind of at this overextended level again. But really, Friday we had a lot of strength. We saw the market gap up. We saw some follow through throughout the day. And then here we are. The futures were just lit up again when the futures markets opened last night. I think the NASDAQ is currently sitting up over 350 points. S&P up over 65 points here. Just so a lot of strength at the open. And Preston, a lot of that just in the face of this government shutdown that's going on for weeks. There was some of that regional bank uncertainty that kind of flashed for a second. Some of the China rare earth news, the Canada tariff news, and the market has just been resilient. So what are some of your thoughts on that?
I think the biggest thing, Mike, is markets take time to digest things over a weekend when it's not open for 2 days. And I think with the president over in China and multiple countries over there, like 2 weeks after or 3 weeks after being in the Middle East and the peace deal, I think that I think that's the main story. And
Right.
that, hey, we've China like had a deal for him to look at before he even landed to get there. It just is coming together. And so when markets freak, when that first negotiation goes out, by President Trump, like, "Oh no, we're raising this 100% with like a straight face," the market freaks for good reason.
Right.
But I just think that's the big story, and it has been tying from those April low, the tariff, the Liberation Day or whatever. This is now in the weeds and getting that done. And we have an FOMC rate decision, Mike, on
Right.
Wednesday during market hours this week. This is being overshadowed and the government shutdown by all of this, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the FOMC. So even with the government shutdown, there are quite a few of our economic reports that aren't coming out due to that shutdown. But the FOMC, from everything I'm seeing, it looks like it's all scheduled. They're going to have that just like normal, the announcement just like normal. The expectation again is that there's going to be another quarter of a point, a 0.25% rate cut, which of course is great news for the markets. They love the lower interest rate environment. And so, yeah, I think we're seeing a lot of that optimism in the price action today. And Preston, we're also just continuing this uptrend, which we've been saying all, sometimes it's short term, we're stretched. You might want to be a little defensive for a few days, but that's not to take away from the fact that we've just been trending. And I think we were chatting before we got on that the S&P has covered like 2,000 points from the April lows.
Like 40+% since the April lows. And the other comment, I'll just peel back the envelope a little bit so our viewers can know what we talked about off camera. I just brought up, would we ever wake up and would a lead story in New York Times be We are 43% as of today from those April lows. Good job. We have this that needs to be celebrated. And here's the 5 reasons why, blah, blah, blah. No. So we'll never hear that.
Right. Yeah, I'm just peeking at it. So you can see there the low was around a little over 4,800 on the S&P 500. Here we are today trading about 68.58. So from that lowest point on about April 7th is when I think that came across, that looking at too close, but over 2,000 points, pretty crazy. Awesome stretch in the market. So Preston, when we've covered a lot of ground like we have, I think up something like 6 out of the last 7 days, we've covered some good ground. Where does your brain go? Do you pump the brakes just a little bit? Are you a little more defensive? I know for me, if I own stock, if I have long calls, it's days like this where I'm looking at selling call options against those positions, which just brings in a little income, gives you a little bit of a hedge. If there's a pause, some profit taking, some consolidation, it adds some income and some profits to the account. But where does your brain go after a couple of days like we've seen here?
I think that's some solid thinking, Mike. I have a 4-word solution that's going to help right here, and it's know thy earnings dates. And I say that because we are starting a week. Mike, my mind is, I've seen so many ticker symbols already this Monday morning. I'm trying to comprehend it all. But this week, Google announces, Meta announces, Amazon, Apple, MasterCard, Visa, a little company called Microsoft, Mercado Libre, Starbucks, Regeneron Pharmaceutical. There's hundreds of companies. So one thing that you should be aware of when you're holding any position is, when's the next earnings date for my stock? And a lot of stocks are acting very confident, I would say, heading into their earnings announcement date.
Mm-hmm.
But Michael, let me just pin that there and just also make this note that, while there's been, especially in the chip and semiconductor names, tons of ground covered. If you look at Micron and the AMDs, there is a company out there that has earth-shattering news this morning, not earnings, but they haven't been covering all this ground. They've kind of been in the limelight over there. And basically they have one of the cleanest, squeakiest, cleanest, most amazing 20 plus year dividend increasing company, hasn't made a lot of waves. And if I'll just reveal the ticker symbol right now, it's Qualcomm, QCOM. And if we just take a look, yeah, they've gone up a little bit since the April lows, but they haven't been this, take no prisoners, just go lofty, doubled in price. It's been very measured. And just taking a look at the volume today, I had it up here. I had to do a double take, Mike. This is worth I have to see it again. Let me refresh this. Yeah, 61 million shares. It averages 8.
It's crazy.
And what's the news today? They're out saying we've got chips that are basically going to blow away the AMD chip. We read the headlines. You guys can read them right here. Makes a big AI move. But basically they're saying our chips are the newest, cat's meow. Now, I'm not saying to chase it right here on this day, but this is a game changer for Qualcomm. So what's the high been today? Oh my goodness. I'm just discovering this right now. It's high. It's been as high as 205.
Yeah, it's pulled off the highs just a little bit. It looks like
just
high of about 205. Yeah.
Like literally one of the highest quality stocks that doesn't really care for the limelight. I think they've probably been waiting. They've seen all these other names go, and I bet they're just sitting back going, wait till the end of October to see what the market. Let's see what the market does when we announce our news. I just have a feeling that's what they're doing.
Right. No,
Anyway,
that's
I'm blown. I'm kind of gobsmacked by it right now, in a good way.
uh, yeah, it's a good one to watch. Um, and Preston, I wanted to bring up something we talked about last week because we were talking about all that kind of hysteria in the rare earth stocks.
It came
Is
up,
there
didn't
is
it?
some of that, the news from China slowing the exports, and it just kind of made everything go wonky. And you compared it. I loved the analogy that we discussed last week about the marijuana stocks, how they just got crazy when a few of the
Some
states
years
started
ago.
legalizing.
Some years ago. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. When a few years ago, and the marijuana stocks kind of had that hysteria behind it. And you're just kind of saying, hey, pump the brakes. You don't want to chase this sort of thing. It
And
can,
Mike, it did grow, and it
right.
has grown. But the big takeaway is it doesn't always manifest itself in the stock. In fact, the stocks can really get, like the magician, or trying to take the tablecloth under. It doesn't necessarily translate into, oh, all I have to do is go buy the marijuana stocks, and I'd sit back and this is the best thing ever. I'm going to be a millionaire. No.
Right.
So just to reiterate that.
Yeah, definitely. So really, really good insights on that. Seeing how a lot of the air has come out of those balloons, right? It's just kind of dropped back down. And this morning, especially, we're seeing a lot of those names take a pretty big dip. And then also we talked about gold, right? And how gold was just so hot, and how we were a little hesitant to chase it, and just kind of right on cue,
It
it
was the
pulled
day
back.
after, Mike, the morning after. Yeah,
Exactly. So we could just
crazy.
have, we saw that just pull back. It's down a little bit again today. And it's common press. Maybe you could speak to that. We've talked a little bit about sector rotation. Now if all the money's trying to find kind of the AI names again, if you've got a position like gold that has just exploded over the last month or two,
Mhm.
and you're wanting to peel some of that back into the stocks that maybe had a little breather, getting that inflow again. And it's common to see money just kind of flowing like that.
For sure. It's also common too to see some big swings. I mean, here gold kind of goes up effortless. It goes up parabolic. I love when the pullbacks come in, but I'm also not surprised by the big daily ranges
Mhm.
of that battle going on. In saying this, Mike, I also brought up a stock that I really like for that. Well, I just find it really interesting. It's pulled back just like gold, but it's one of the big 800-pound gorillas in the gold market. It's not the ETF. Sometimes those ETFs, when it's really rabid, the ETF goes up even more than the gold
Right.
because the money's chasing, and the ETF is like freaked. But so maybe if we look at Newmont Mining, NEM, you see the pullback in the name, and also I'll wait till we can see this come up. So there's the pullback in the gold, but then also late last week they made an announcement that they said, "Hey, we're going to go buy some gold assets of another gold miner." And just traditionally, when you're the company that's in the news acquiring somebody else, the
Hmm.
acquiring company goes down in reaction to that news because that's more capital. It's unproven still too. It's like, hey, they're using resources and assets, or maybe going into debt to buy someone else, and then it usually takes time down the road. Hey, are they getting along with the other company that they, is
Right.
it assimilating? Is it really adding to the bottom line? So usually the acquirer goes down, and then the name of the company being acquired goes up. So that, in addition to this pullback, dropped it down, and then today gold's down. So this is, I'm not saying to, hey, this is the day to buy it, but this is the time you wait for
Mm.
to maybe start easing in, because I don't think the gold runs over. I just think it's healthy along the way to have these pullbacks. And then I love how Newmont's run. They pay a dividend. There's weekly options, Mike. I mean, and so anyway, I'm not saying to start a money press right here. I like even owning the shares.
Mm,
And the way I like to do it is maybe start acquiring some shares, not all at once. Like, oh, this is the lowest it's going to go. Buy some. How does it respond over the next week? What's going on? Is it lower? Well, I was going to buy some more anyway. So you start averaging into a position. And if you own the stock on it, Mike, you get the dividend. You
right.
can protect it with puts. You can sell calls. And again, these have weekly options. And I just love this name in the gold space.
Yeah, good one to keep an eye on. And, for me, I like to wait until we see a little bit of a turn, right? It's been
Exactly.
dropping. I'm sure most people have heard the expression, you don't want to try to catch a falling knife.
Totally.
And so just to elaborate a little bit on what you said, where you said it's not right here quite yet, but keep an eye on it. You start seeing a little bit of an uptick, a little bit of an upturn. Then you're not just guessing where it might be putting in a bottom,
Good
because you
point.
just never know, right? We could see this thing slide for another week. So waiting for that little confirmation of an upturn is usually an important thing. So, yeah, Preston, we kind of hit on some of the earnings calendar, big week ahead.
It's
Any other
huge.
names worth shouting out? I mean, you called out some of the tech. I mean, I know Visa, United Health Group. I'm just looking at the list here. It's just a heavy week when you've got Google, Microsoft, Meta. I think Apple and Amazon are this week as
Apple
well.
and Amazon. And then
So
there's other names too that are cogs in the wheel and real backbones of kind of the whole AI build out. One that comes to mind is I love saying the name. Um, hang on. It's Monolithic Power Systems, and it's MPWR. And if you take a look at, I mean, this one has just barely skipped a beat. This is where your point came up, Nike, where, I mean, what do you do with this? But one thing you should know is when the next earnings announcement is, and it's this week. So that's a lot of paper gains
right.
if you're exposed to MPWR. Yes, I would, in this case, I'd actually do a caller. I would sell a call on top and then buy a put underneath and equally spaced in distance. So you don't buy a call and buy a put. No, it's selling a call that generates income into your account. And if you space buying a put underneath where the stock is about the same distance,
Mm-hmm.
the trade's free. You can
Right.
sell a call, buy a put, and then go over your earnings. And because the worst thing in the world, Mike, there's a lot of bad things that can happen to us. You know, the Cowboys can lose. the girl, the girl you got your eyes on can say no. But right up there on the worst things of the world is to ride something like this up. And really, the gains are on paper, right?
Right.
And then to ride it all the way back down. No one in their right mind ever wants that to happen. So you must know your earnings dates. And then in this case, I would collar this thing like no one's business, because what it does is it lets you lock in almost all of that gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good insight.
Yeah.
So especially earnings, heavy week, knowing
Heavy.
your positions are coming up, but then also talking about just that little overbought feel,
Mm-hmm.
where some of the indicators are just showing we're stretched, we're a little overbought. That's even more reason, right? Like you said, you've got those paper gains, things covered some ground,
Mm-hmm.
just a little more reason to put on that defensive hat a little bit and proceed with a little bit more caution than usual. Doesn't mean long term we're turning bearish or anything like that, but when we cover a lot of ground, it's common for stocks, the indexes, to just find some of that balance, right? A chart's never going to go straight up. It's going to have ebbs and flows. We're going to see profit taking. We're going to see some selling. So when you get to those situations like we're at today, where we're just a little stretched, we're coming into a big earnings week. We're coming into an FOMC meeting week. Could bring some extra volatility. I like to just think a little more defensive, for a few days and approach the week with a little more caution that way. So yeah,
That's
any
great.
parting thoughts, Preston? We had a
Great
fun
wise
story we want to
words
share.
there. I do want to just hammer home the point too that yes, the market's hot. I mean, stocks are cool. Look, in times like this, I like to be extra selective, and that's one of the reasons for the Qualcomm. You know, it's having the news today for sure, but to me, other stocks like we just saw with the monolithics have covered so much ground. They're getting to a place where everything has to be right, including the guidance. And then you have these other companies, you have most of the Magnificent Seven announcing earnings. They're almost
Right.
joking, Mike, where they're not calling it the S&P 500 anymore. They're calling it the S&P 493
Right.
because because those are like the normal companies, even though it's amazing to be a part of the S&P, but 7 of them are getting close to 30% of the entire index. That would be
Right.
Apple. That would be Google. That would be Amazon.
Yep.
And they're all announcing this week. So anyway, just to be extra selective, again, that's why my eyes go to the Qualcomms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, it's looking a little more tame. But again, with the big news today, really important. I believe it might have profit taking. Important to maybe let a couple days of reaction time go by. And do I do I want to know the earnings for Qualcomm? Because to my knowledge, that was not the earnings. Let me just see when they happen to be. November 5th after the market. So,
There you
man,
go.
what
Right
an
around the
exciting
corner.
around the corner. I feel like
Awesome.
I'm just blabbing too much here, Mike. I'm a little excited. Huge week coming up.
Yeah, huge week. Lots to keep your eye on. Definitely want to stay a little more plugged in. With weeks like this, I love to just go through each position, do kind of an inventory. Where are things at? Where's my put protection at?
Mhm.
And just know, hey, we're a little stretched. Got a lot of earnings. Got an FOMC meeting. Is there anything I want to just be mindful of? Tidy up any of the positions. So of course, go through. Make sure you know all those earnings dates. Write it down on a sticky note. Whatever you need to do to have that top of mind. You don't want to be caught off guard on one of those. So, Preston, great stuff today. I think we help people. We love bringing some insights to start the week, cut through a lot of the noise and the chaos out there. So, to wrap things up, we got a fun story from Matthew. We love sharing these. Hopefully, it gives you a little motivation to hear from other Trader's Edge members who are having some success, seeing some profits. And I love Matthew's story because it's not always easy, right? You don't usually jump into trading and just your first 10 trades are going to be home runs. So, Matthew said, I just turned green today, profit of $615. I joined and started doing money presses almost exactly a year ago. Said he never traded options before, so there's a learning curve there, right? Some terminology, some things to learn. He said, I made a lot of mistakes, was slightly in the red most of the time, but I'm finally figuring it out. I'm so excited. My 6-month gain is $6,213. I'm not sure exactly how much Matthew's trading with, but love hearing about the gains. He says, thank you to everyone at Trader's Edge, and he's looking forward to using the new skills in retirement. So, Matthew, thanks for sending in that note. We love hearing about your success. Hopefully, we hear about your success soon. If you're wanting to see more of Preston's trades, follow along, get more information, training, understanding on the money press, make sure you get your copy on the free book. Just cover the $7 shipping. You can have your free money press book in your hands, freemoneypressbook.com. Go get your copy if you don't already. And we love to hopefully see your name on a success story like that here in the near future. So,
Well said,
Preston, I'll give you
Mike.
the last word.
Yeah, well said. Congratulations to Matthew. I'll just say in closing, also just to realize when the big behemoths announced, there's just lots of companies announcing before the market and before the open, after the close this week. But just know that Google announcing after the close on Wednesday, that affects a lot of stocks. So just
Right.
to know when those biggies and when Apple and Amazon, I mean, they move the world, they move the needle. There's dozens of companies that tie themselves to not only what is announced, but what is Apple saying going forward? What is
Right.
Amazon saying going forward? That kind of rules the world of what their outlooks are. So
Yeah.
it's
Good
exciting.
stuff.
I don't
Yeah.
know
Good
that I'd
stuff.
want to do anything else, Mike. There's never any want for stimulating the brain, I guess you could say.
No, totally. Well, thanks, Preston. Appreciate your insights. Always really helpful and valuable. We love hearing the great feedback. People loving these fog cutters to kick off their week. So thanks for being part of Trader's Edge. Thanks for tuning in. Preston, thanks for your time. And we will see everyone next week as we're diving into November. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike.